MHU on three. 1, 2, 3.
MHU.
Hello, Lion fans, and welcome to another edition of Inside Line Football. Adam Williams back again, joined as always by head football coach Tim Clifton. Coach, went to Gaffney this past weekend, came away with a pretty emphatic victory, 32-3. Your overall thoughts on the performance?
Well, I thought our guys played extremely hard. I mean, we really did. And that's a hard place to go in and play because of where you dress and where you stay before pregame in a small locker room. And usually it's really, really hot, but it wasn't as hot this past weekend has been in the past. But we were able to reach out to some people in Gaffney. And we went to Gaffney Middle School, dressed there, had all our meetings there, did a walk through there, and I think that really helped us. And then when we came into the stadium, right before we were to go out for pregame because, players, it's just so hard to get them in that small locker room. And but I think that really helped us. But I thought our guys played extremely hard, and we executed some things that we needed to execute. And I think the biggest thing was that it could have been a letdown right there going on the road. We hadn't been on the road in a while, and then preparing yourself to go in and play. But I thought our guys did a great job with that, and we had a good week of practice. So, but I felt good going in. It's just always been a dogfight with them. It's always been. They've been 2 overtimes with them in probably the last 6 years or so, and then it's always been a tight football game. So we knew going in that we were going to have to play well, and I thought we played well.
You talk about the overtimes and the close contests. In the spring, we took that one on the road in overtime, high-scoring affair. This week, not so much. 32-3, really controlled every aspect of play. And I want to talk about the defense, and just right off the bat, Tristan Rankin was named the South Atlantic Conference Defensive Player of the Week for his performance, tying a school record with 3 interceptions in the contest, returning 1 for a pick 6. Talk about his play, but also the defense in general and what you saw from those guys.
Yeah, I think Tristan practices extremely hard. He comes out every day with a great attitude, and he practices really, really hard. And you'd like to have everybody on the team practice that hard. And then he had the 3 picks and the 1 touchdown, but he was close to getting 4. And but now he prepares and he works, and it showed Saturday. And then I thought our defense played extremely well. We had a shutout with about a minute or so left, and they kicked a field goal, and the wind played a big part in that because we couldn't punt it as deep as we wanted, and we were backed up, and they got really good field position, and they were able to kick a field goal with the wind. But I thought our defense played exceptionally well versus the run. I thought we did a real good job of stopping their run game, and then we also did a good job of rushing the passer and putting pressure on them and making them throw some balls they didn't want to throw. And but I thought our defense played excellent.
Touching back on the rushing differential, you look at the stats, 133 total yards of offense for Limestone, only 45 on the ground. Lions almost outgaining them by 200 yards. It was 234-45. In years past, it seems like the passing game has kind of been the emphasis for the offense. What made you lean heavy towards the run this past week?
Well, we worked extremely hard this past spring on our run game, and we wanted to get back to being a team that could run the football. And so all that work is starting to pay off, and then early in the fall we worked hard on running the football. But the wind played a lot to do with it. It was probably 25, 30-mile-an-hour winds, and they had effect on what you were trying to do. And we knew that we were going to have to try to find a way to run the football and control it because the wind was going to play a factor. So. But I thought our offensive line did a really good job, and we ran hard, and we played 4 or 5 guys at tailback, and And then we made the pass game count when we needed for it to count. But I thought we did a good job of dominating the line of scrimmage and running the football. And our backs ran extremely hard. I mean, they broke a lot of tackles, too.
Say Jere Morrison, his first career 100-plus yard game. You talk about the passing game coming up when it matters. Jimmy Urzua, 108 yards, but 3 touchdowns. Not a bad day at the office. We look at the first half scoring, going into the half up 20-0. Tyson Nelson with a 4-yard reception from Jimmy Urzua with about less than 2 minutes to go in the first quarter. And then in the second, Marquise Williams, his lone reception on the day, 27-yard reception from Jimmy. And then Tristan Rankin, 62-yard interception return. Going into that half, what's the message? You've dominating play. Is it keep the foot on the gas, or are you trying different things out in that second half?
Yeah, at halftime we just let them know, hey, we still got a second half to play. And we emphasized, the wind's still going to play a factor, especially in the punt game. And when both teams kicked off, it was almost a circus trying to figure out who was going to catch it. And they were struggling catching it. We were struggling catching it. But our main emphasis was, we're up 20. We hadn't finished the way we wanted to finish over the last 4 weeks or so. I mean, we finished and won, but we hadn't just finished and finished a game and put somebody away. And that was our emphasis at halftime. Let's go out and put 20 more points on the board. Let's put this thing away. And then when, we got another score, then we just started just squeezing that clock and trying to control the football and squeeze the clock and trying to play a lot of guys. But the main emphasis was let's go out and try to put 20 more on the board, and let's see if we can hold them to 0.
You talk about holding on to the ball, over 35 minutes of possession in that game. We look in the second half, C.J. Thompson getting another receiving touchdown, 15-yard reception from Urzua. Chancellor Lee Parker with a 3-yard rush towards the end, and as you mentioned earlier, that field goal with about a minute left by the Saints. You round out that contest, and I think one thing, too, when you look at the stats that we've talked about in the past and you've emphasized throughout, is being more disciplined. 8 total penalties, 4 aside for each team. Was it as cleanly we were trying to follow it on the live stream as we were here at Mears Stadium watching the soccer doubleheader, but was it as clean a game, or was it just did the teams just really step up and hunker down?
Well, we talked about it last week, and that was one of the emphasis last week was we've got to cut back on penalties. We had too many penalties the week before, and we needed to cut back, and we needed to be a lot more disciplined. And I thought we did that. I thought we cut back on penalties, and there wasn't that many penalties in the game. There was an incidental face mask by us that I thought was incidental, but it was still a face mask. But it just but the main thing you're trying to do is not have pre-snap penalties. I mean, just don't have them. Don't have a penalty before the ball snap. But I thought we did a really good job of emphasizing it during the week, and I thought our guys did a good job of adhering to what we wanted, and I thought they played really disciplined in that area, and there were several times that guys were on sidelines with the ball, us and them, and there wasn't any shots taken right before going out of bounds or anything like that. And that's where discipline comes in. That there's a time to stop before they go out of bounds. And but I thought our guys did a really good job with that. And I think anytime you can have, I always tell them 5 or less, penalties, and because you're going to have some. I mean, you're going to have a holding call. You're going to have a pass interference call. Some of that's going to happen, but you'd like to keep it, 5 or under, and be disciplined enough that you can do that and have 0 pre-snap penalties.
Just a rundown of some final stats and top performers for the Lions. Lions with 20 first downs compared to Limestone's 9, outgaining the Saints 342 to 133. We look at individual stats. Jimmy Urzua, 7 of 18 for 108 yards, 3 touchdowns. On the rushing side of things, Jere Morrison, 22 attempts, 104 yards. Chancellor Lee Parker, 9 rushes, 48 yards for 1 touchdown. C.J. Thompson leading the Lions in receiving with 3 receptions, 52 yards, 1 touchdown. Marquise Williams, that one catch for 27 yards, also a score. Ty Snelson, 2 receptions, 14 yards, and 1 touchdown. And 3 Lion players tied with 5 total tackles: Tristan Rankin, Nick Jackson, Landon Honeycutt. Just want to touch back, too, because I look at the numbers of sacks. 3 sacks for 37 yards. And I remember watching the fourth quarter, Dexter Fitzpatrick wide open for 2 of them. Big losses for the Saints, and then Earl Adams had a massive one as well. So just an overall well-rounded performance by the Lions this weekend, coming up for the 5th win of the year.
Yeah, I thought so. I thought, we complimented each other. When you have, when you win time of possession, it's on both sides. The defense has got to get the ball back, and the offense has got to hold on to it. So I thought we did a really good job there. And I thought our defense, especially pass rush, was really good. As I said earlier, we forced them to make some throws they didn't want to make. And but I thought our guys did a great job of on both sides of the ball, and the emotion on the sideline was really good, and everybody was into the game from the very beginning to the very end. Everybody was in the game and working to pull the victory off and to win a road game. And every game over there over the years has been tough games. They've always been tough, but I thought we played really well, but but we also have some things we saw that we got to get better at, and we'll do that. But and I thought we adapted to the wind. You never want the weather to be a factor. Well, guys sometimes, it's raining and those kind of things. You don't want rain to be a factor, and you don't want the wind to be a factor. And like I told them, if you're out of sailboat, you got to adjust the sails, and we're going to have to adjust the sails. And I thought we did a really good job. When they punted, if they punted into the wind, we didn't even try to catch it, and we didn't even move relief from the offensive line of scrimmage because the ball was going to come back. I'm not sure. Several of them probably didn't go 15 yards because once they got up in the wind, and he's a really good punter, but once they got up in the wind, they came back to us. So I thought we did a good job of adapting there, not letting that be a major factor for us.
Lions come away with a 32-3 victory this past weekend. 3-game winning streak coming into this upcoming matchup against Catawba. We'll talk about that and preview that when we come back.
Mars Hill University, helping you move your mountain.
Mars Hill University gives me plenty of degrees to choose from.
At MHU, I get the attention I deserve.
MHU keeps me close to home, and there's tons to do in the mountains.
Over 60 courses of study, small class settings, a breathtaking campus. These are just a few examples of how MHU can help you start moving your mountain. Visit us today at mhu.edu. Mars Hill University, education that moves mountains.
We don't always agree who to pull for on game day, but we all can agree that litter is bad for North Carolina.
I just did not have a lot of stability.
I was facing foreclosure, not working at all, didn't have any money.
I could not go to school and work, so I found Mars Hill.
The experience here has been so wonderful.
It's been amazing.
I was able to have the full-time hours without the full-time load.
They are just incredibly supportive.
And Mars Hill is very affordable.
Mars Hill University Adult and Graduate Studies, education that moves mountains.
I will be the first in my family to graduate with my bachelor's degree.
Before we preview the matchup against Catawba, let's take a look at South Atlantic Conference standings following this past weekend. Wingate remains atop the standings despite falling to Barton on the road 26-20. They are 3-0 in conference. Newberry 4-1 with a big victory over this week's opponent, Catawba. Mars Hill 3-1, sitting in third place. Lenore-Rhine bouncing back with a massive victory over Carson Newman. They're 3-2. Catawba 1-1. Tusculum 2-3 with a big win over UVA Wise. Wise right below them 2-3 as well. Limestone and Carson Newman 0-3, 0-4 respectively, rounding out the SAC standings. We talked about it last week, but just hearing those numbers again, that SAC division just so tight up top, and a huge matchup for us this weekend as we welcome Catawba into Mears Stadium for the first time since, I believe we were talking about it, 2018.
Yeah.
Coach, your thoughts on this upcoming matchup?
Well, Catawba looks like the Catawba the old, not 19, but before then, all from the time we've been here, they've been one of the dominant teams in this league for forever, you know, and they're really strong right now. They are really good at quarterback, and you know, he can do some things, and he makes the difference in their offense. But they are a much better football team than we played in 19, and we didn't play them in the spring, so. In fact, they didn't play at all in the spring, so, and they've missed 2 games already this year. So, I'm not sure. I think all their guys are healthy because I don't think they hadn't had to play as many games as we've already played. So, but it'll be a good matchup. I mean, they're very talented, and on defense.
Coach, and that's a great point you bring up. We haven't seen them in 2 years or so. They didn't play in the spring at all. We've had this a couple times now, Chowan especially, where a team hasn't played in quite some time, in first time you're facing them in several years. What's the difficulty in trying to prepare? Because you mentioned 2019, they're not the team that they were just 2 years prior to that, and they're not the team that they are 2 years removed from that either.
That's right, and what you know, they did a great job in recruiting, but also a lot of those guys that played were young, and now they're mature. They had the whole spring, a whole year to mature and get better. And then, you know, quarterback-wise, I think is where they've just gotten so much better. Avon is just a really good football player. He can run it extremely well, and he throws a really good football. And I think he has stabilized their offense and gives them a chance every week. And they played Newberry exceptionally well and beat Carson Newman. So they, you know, the thing that makes them tough on offense is that they're good at running back, but he is really good at running the read option, pulling it, and if he gets in space, he's hard to get on the ground, and he's an accurate passer. And then on defense, they run extremely well. Their linebackers can really run, and the secondary can run, and they just have team speed on defense. And you know, it's hard to prepare during a week for team speed on defense, and they really have it. So we've got a lot of work to do, you know, this week, getting ready for as fast as they are on defense. And then on offense, we've got some work to do to work on getting the quarterback situated and trying to figure out how to, you know, defend him and the things that he can do.
Would you say, from the teams we've played so far, that this is maybe the fastest, most skilled offense and defense as a team unit that we've seen thus far?
Yeah, I think Newberry has the fastest team that we've played so far. I think Newberry is athletically is better than anybody we've seen all year. I think Catawba matches them in a lot of ways in how fast they are. Newberry, I think, it was a little different in that they had speed, but they were huge. I mean, they're huge. They got some massive bodies, and their linebackers were big and could run. Catawba's aren't quite as big, but they can really run, and they make a lot of plays. But I think since Newberry, I think it's might have the best speed on defense we've seen, you know. And then offensively, you know, they can play 2 running backs that can make you pay, and then the quarterback makes you pay. And they do a lot of things because they can get in a tight end set, which can put pressure on you, and he can play in the backfield, sort of like we do Tyson Nelson. So he can put pressure on you from being an attached tight end or in the backfield. And I think their scheme for the talent they have, offensively, they have a really good scheme for the quarterback that they have and for the talent they have. And defensively, you know, Catawba over the years has always been good on defense and always had really good linebackers.
Coming back home, these last 5 games, including the Limestone game, kind of alternating road, home, road, home, road. Coming back to Muir Stadium for the 6th home game, what kind of advantage does that provide for Mars Hill as they welcome in Catawba?
Well, I think it's always good to be back home. I think we've played pretty good at home, and I think just being able to come back to the stadium, Muir Stadium, and play and get football is basically during the week is being in a routine. Football is different than other sports in that the way you have to be in a routine and playing once a week and everything stays the same. You try to make sure you keep that routine. Now practice, you're always trying to get better in practice, but the time schedule that you're on, you try to keep it the same. And I think at home you get to do that. The only time you don't get to do that is homecoming because you move the time a little bit. But you're just trying to get keep everything on schedule. And then you try to work extremely hard and get better and practice. But, like I tell the players all the time, you either get better or you get worse. You don't remain the same. And every day you got to make a difference in every day that you come out and every time you come to practice. So I think we're going to have a great week of practice. We really are. I thought we had a good week last week, but it's going to have to be better this week than it was a week ago.
Schedule doesn't get any easier as the Lions embark on the final stretch of the 2021 fall season. Lions host Catawba inside Muir Stadium, 1 p.m. kickoff. Live stat and video links available on MarsHillLions.com. Doug Maurer and Justin Polizzi will be on the call. Coach, we wish you the best of luck in this upcoming contest, and we'll be back next week with another edition of Inside Line Football.
MHU on 3, 1, 2, 3. MHU.